channel. I hope you guys are doing well and enjoying the videos. If you guys are looking for more videos and updates like this, please like, share and subscribe my channel. So our today's topic is going to be how to configure OSPF dynamic routing protocol on FortiGate Firewall. Okay, we are basically going to configure OSPF dynamic routing protocol on our FortiGate Firewall, and we are going to see how it is going to behave and how it is going to work after configuration on FortiGate Firewall. We'll cover these all topics with the help of lab, so don't worry about that. Okay. So for lab purpose, we are going to use the same topology which we used in our last video. In last video, what which particular lab we performed and what we performed. So we performed the lab for RIP dynamic routing protocol configuration on FortiGate firewall. But this time we are going to change our routing protocol. We are going to OSPF instead of RIP routing protocol. Okay. So before I explain you the topology, let me move on and give a quick overview about OSPF. I'm not going to cover this in deep, but I'll just go through the basic things. Okay, because like OSPF is a huge topic. We have to cover multiple things. I'll tell you what you have to like cover and what you have to go through in OSPF. Okay, so if we are talking about OSPF stands for Open Shortest Path First, and it's like a IGP dynamic routing protocol. IGP means Interior Gateway Routing Protocol. Okay, it uses shortest path first SPF algorithm to select the best path. Okay, OSPF use protocol number 89 and administrative distance 110. Okay, OSPF use two multicast addresses, that is 224.0.0.5, and it uses 224.0.0.5 to send the hello packets to all routers, and the another one is 224.0.0.6, which OSPF used to send hello packet to DR designated routers only. Okay, if we are talking about hello and dead timer in OSPF, by default it's like 10 second and 40 second, but we can change as per our requirement. OSPF works on area base, and area 0 is a backbone area of OSPF technology. Okay, now like there is multiple topics we can cover in OSPF, but I am not going to cover. I'll just tell you type of networks in OSPF: broadcast network, non-broadcast network, point to multi-point, point to point. There is multiple network types in OSPF that we can cover. Like you guys can go through by yourself. Type of routers in OSPF like ASR router, ASBR router, internal router, backbone router. Type of area in OSPF like stub area, totally stub area, NSSA area, totally NSSA area, standard area. Okay, type of LSA like LSA1, which we know about which we know with the name of router LSA, LSA2, which we know with the name of network LSA, LSA3, like ASR, summary LSA, ASBR, LSA4. Okay, so there's six or seven types of LSA which we can cover, and if we are talking about like total 12 or 13 LSAs type are there, but we are not covering all the things. Like whenever we are going to uh, cover the LSA part, like we are covering only LSA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and LSA 7. Okay, you guys can like go through by yourself. A never ship parameter, like what parameters should match, what parameters should not match, then like never ship will get form. Then there is like never ship state, what state, these are huge topics. Like, if we are going to talk about never ship parameters, it will take almost 30 seconds. Why we are using this parameter, why how it is going to be impact the neighborship. So we'll discuss we'll try to discuss this topic in separate video, but like today we are going to discuss about lab. So another topics you can cover like neighborship state summarization and OSPF like route filtering in OSPF. So these are the things we can like cover in OSPF, but not now. We'll try to make a separate video, or you guys can go through by yourself. I just like written down the some important topics in OSPF. Okay, now let's move on our topology part. Let me just explain you the topology, then we can move on our lab. Okay, So here is the topology. Let me just explain you. I added a FortiGate firewall node. Okay, and port one, like we already aware, like port one is always by default configured in DHCP. So port one we configured like we connected with our management network. And what is this management network? If I am going to see, we took management cloud zero network. Okay, what we are going to do basically with the help of this particular port one, we are going to take GUI of this particular firewall from our local PC. Okay, and what subnet it is going to be? 192.168.33.0/24. Don't ask me why this subnet only, because I explained you multiple times. Okay, now the another port 2. Port 2 we consider as a LAN 1 port, and we connected port 2 from one of our LAN 1 switch, and there is a one LAN PC which is like window LAN PC. I'll show you. This is a window LAN PC I added. So for LAN 1, we took the IP subnet 10.10.0.10.10.10.0/24, and we assign the IP, like we designed the topology as per topology we are going to assign the IP 10.10.10.0 sorry 10.10.10.10/24 on our WinLAN PC. Okay, and this is going to be our LAN 1. There is similar kind of thing we took on port 3, like firewall port 3, and that is going to be our LAN 2 subnets. Okay, and for LAN 2 subnet, we assign the IP 20.20.20.0/24, and for there is a like VPC we took in LAN, just to give some tests later and try with both the subnets. We took two LAN subnets in our LAN part. Okay, so in another LAN part, we took a VPC, and on VPC we are going to assign the IP 20.20.20.10. Okay, and there is another port 4, which we are considering as a WAN port, and to come in between ISP and our FortiGate firewall, we took the subnet 192.168.100.0/24. On firewall side, port 4, we are going to assign the IP 192.168.100.100, and on ISP side, we are going to assign 192.168.100.200. Okay, and we are going to let me explain you what we are exactly going to do. So this is like, if you are going to see, this is a ISP, but what it is actually, I just took a Cisco 3725 router, and I'm going to configure this particular router as a ISP. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to configure some loop backs, and in that loopbacks, like there is a global DNS, and there are some other subnets as well. And what we are going to do, we are going to initiate some traffic for these WAN or ISP subnets, and we are trying to communicate, like whenever we are trying to generate some traffic from our local PC, how the traffic will go. First it will come to our firewall, right? Let me change the color. Let me take, if we are going to initiate the traffic from our LAN PC, first it will reach out to firewall, and then from firewall it will take it will see the routing table, and with based on routing table, the traffic will send towards ISP. Okay, so for routing purpose, we are going to use OSPF on our FortiGate firewall and OSPF on our ISP firewall. Okay, what we are going to do in OSPF, we are going to advertise the required subnet, on FortiGate firewall. If we are going to talk about required subnet, so 10.10.10 is the required subnet, 20.20.20 is the required subnet, 192.168.100 is the required subnet. Why this is the required subnet? Because we are going to use only OSPF for routing purpose. There is no other routing protocols. If we are going to use like a static in our LAN and OSPF in our WAN, then we have to perform redistribution or on our FortiGate as well. So what we are doing, we are only using OSPF to communicate between our LAN subnet towards ISP. Okay, so on ISP also, what we are going to do, we are going to advertise the subnets which really need to advertise in OSPF. So which subnet it is going to be? So 192.168.100, the first subnet, and then all the loopback subnets. We are going to advertise these all subnets in our OSPF network. Okay, so I believe you are clear, and for more clarity, just stay with me, and I'll just configure the lab one by one. So these firewalls, these topology we already used in last lab, which was for RIP. So I'm going to wipe out this node. What basically I'm doing after wipe out, it is going to be a fresh node. We have to configure each and everything on this. Why I am doing this? To be clear, like you guys can get more clarity on that, how we can configure our firewall and how we can configure our ISP. So that's why I just wipe out these two nodes. I'm going to configure these nodes from fresh or from scratch. Let me just turn on all the nodes, and then we'll start the configuration from our ISP. Okay, so I hope you guys are already aware what we are going to achieve here. Let me just clear and give you a like small a small recall once again. So we are going to basically initiate the traffic from our WIN LAN PC and VPC LAN, and we'll try to communicate from our LAN PC with the with these ISP subnets. And for communication purpose, we are going to use OSPF in between ISP and on our FortiGate firewall. That's the main task. We are going to make a reachability between 10.10.10.0/24 subnet and 8.8.8, 11.11.11, 4.4, 21.21 with the help of OSPF routing protocol. So that's our main task. Okay, all the nodes are up. Let me just log into the firewall first. It is a fresh firewall, so the default ID is going to be admin. Click enter one more time, and it's asking to set new password. I am going to set 123. You can set whatever you need. And now I am going to check what particular IP has been assigned on this firewall, management IP, because port 1 is in DHCP. So I am assuming it is going to take IP directly from DHCP server from this subnet. Okay, so let me just run the command. So system interface and question mark. You guys can mark this command to check the assigned IPs. Okay, so on our firewall port 1, we got the IP 192.168.33.190. Let me just log into this firewall. Okay, all right. And I'm going to log in this for the first time. So it is going to ask for some basic configuration. Okay, begin. I'll change the host name. I'll change for FG, FW. Okay, okay. Okay, our firewall is ready with there is no configuration. You can see if we are going in interfaces, there is nothing, right? This is the port which we use, which we are using as a DHCP. That's why we got this IP, and from this IP we are taking GUI of this particular firewall. Okay, so before moving out on firewall, let me move on our ISP. Okay, and let me configure the basic thing on our ISP. What is the basic thing means, we have to configure the interfaces and loopback, then we'll perform the OSPF part later, OSPF configuration or routing configuration part later. So here I already created the template to save our times. What I am going to do, I am going to create loopback 1, going to assign the IP as per our topology, loopback 2 IP, loopback 3 IP, loopback 4 IP, and then I'm going to configure our physical interface fast ethernet 0 by 0 as well, and it's a physical interface, so there should be a no short command. And then I am running this particular command because we connected with a switch, and there is duplex mismatch error we will get on ISP. So I added that command as well. And at first we are going to change the host name. Right now if you are going to see, it's the Let me just show you. Yeah, it's showing router, right? So just click enable and go to the configuration mode, config T, and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this template and I'm going to add here all the templates. So our interface part is already done. Okay, I'm going to write this configuration on our firewall. Sorry, on our ISP. You can see the hostname here, and let me show you. So IP interface brief. Okay, so see on fast Ethernet 0 by 0, we assign the IP 100.200, which is as per our topology. Okay, and if we are going to talk about the other IPs, see loopback 1, loopback 2, loopback 3, loopback 4. This is what we decided here, right? So we assign the IP. So on ISP, the IP assignment part is fine, and we'll run the OSPF part little bit later. Okay, so before moving on firewall, I have to explain you one more thing. If you are going to do a communication between like LAN to WAN through a firewall, we have to go through the multiple configuration. And what is that multiple configuration? We have to configure interface first, then DNS configuration, policy configuration, NAT configuration. So we are going to do these configurations one by one. But for NAT, like if you already covered the NAT part in FortiGate, you should know like there is two type of NAT. There is a policy NAT and there is a central NAT in FortiGate firewall. So we are going to use the policy NAT itself. Whenever you are going to create a policy, there is a NAT by default enable. We are going to use the same NAT. We are not going to create a separate default NAT because this is not our like NAT and policy is not our main topic. Our main topic is to configure OSPF routing. Okay, so let's move on and configure these things one by one as per our topology. I'm going to firewall GUI and first I'm going to configure port 2. So what is our port 2 IP? It is going to be 10.10.10.100 and it is going to be our LAN 1. So click on edit and it is going to be our LAN 1 and the IP is going to be 10.10.10.100/24. Okay, I'm going to enable HTTPS and ping for troubleshooting purpose. See, our port 2 is configured. Now I am going to configure our port 3 and the IP is going to be 20.20.20.100. Just click on that. You can just directly do a double click on the port and you will get the edit option. Either you can do like select the port and you can go for edit. I'll show you the other part as well. Currently, I just go through the double click. So this is going to be our LAN 2 and the IP is going to be 20.20.20.100/24 and I'm going to allow HTTPS and ping here as well. Okay. Now the third thing we have to configure our WAN port that is going to be port 4 and the IP address is 192.168.100.100. Let me configure that as well. So select the port 4, you can go for edit and you will get the same output. So I'm going to configure this as a WAN, giving the alias name as a WAN and the IP address should be 192.168.100.100. This is what we assigned, like we decided in our topology, right? 100.100. And I am allowing HTTPS and ping here as well. Just click OK. And we the port configuration is almost done. What I'll do, I'll just double click on port 1 and I'll give the alias name. So it's it will be better to identify the ports. MGMT, this is what we are using, and see the IP is assigned right now with the help of DHCP. Okay, I clicked OK. Okay, so the first thing we already configured interface configuration. Now we are moving towards DNS configuration. For DNS, you have to visit the same place where in network there is a DNS tab. Just click on that. So currently, if you are going to see, it's using its own DNS, like FortiGate DNS itself. But we are going to use the global one. So click on specify and change the DNS as per your requirement. You can change if you do have any local DNS server in your organization, you can change as per your organization as well. But right now I am using global DNS here. So just click on apply, and here we have already configured the DNS. The next thing, we have to configure the policy. So in policy, we are going to see one thing. Let me just show you. For policy, you have to visit policy and object, and there is a firewall policy tab. Just click on that. And if you are going to see, there is like right now there is only one implicit deny policy which is coming by default with the FortiGate firewall. Okay, so what this policy is going to do, anything is going to hit on firewall, it is simply going to deny. So for allow the traffic, we have to create a new policy. Okay, if we are going on our topology, we are going to initiate the traffic from port 2, like port 2 as well as port 3. So there is two incoming ports, right? If we are going to generate from 10.10.10.10, the incoming traffic, incoming port is going to be port 2. And if we are generating traffic from 20.20.20.10, the incoming traffic is going to be port 3. So see why I like saw you the incoming ports, because if we are going to create a policy, give the name anything, and there is a incoming interface option. So for incoming interface, at one time you can select only one interface, right? So either like two things you can do here. Let me just clean out this. Here you can create like two separate policies, one for LAN 1 and another for LAN 2, which is going to be port 2 and port 3. Either you can do one thing, you can just combine these both ports, and you can keep these both ports in a single zone, and you can apply that particular zone as a incoming in policy, right? So here, like, our main topic is routing, not the policy. So we are going to see these things in detail in upcoming video, in upcoming policy videos, I can say. But right now, what I'm going to see, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just create a zone with the help of these two ports. And I'm going to call that particular zone as a incoming interface. So for that, we have to go to in network tab once again, and we have to go to interface. Okay, and there is an option to create new. If you are going to click, see, there is a zone option. So click on zone, and I am going to give the name zone underscore LAN. You can give what name you want. Okay, and I want to like which interface, like member, you want to be member of this zone LAN. So I want LAN 1 and LAN 2. Okay, click OK. And now if you are going on policy section, see, just click on policy and on create new. And if you are going to incoming interface, you can see there is already a zone LAN. And in zone LAN, which particular interfaces are member of zone LAN? LAN 1 and LAN 2, port 2 and port 3, which is basically our requirement, right? So I'm going to give the name of this policy LAN 2 WAN, and I'm going to select the incoming interface as a zone LAN, which will cover our both LAN 1 and LAN 2, right? For now, the outgoing interface is going to be WAN. Why? Because if you are going to generate a traffic from our local PC and it is going towards our ISP, so definitely the incoming ports are going to be port 2, port 3. But what is our exit port, like outgoing port? It is going to be port 4, WAN port, right? So that's why we selected WAN port. And source, you can specify the source. You can like create a object for our like a specified network, but I am not going to create that. I am going to allow simply all, anything coming from source, anything going towards destination for any time being, for any services. Even like you can decide the services as well, but right now I am going to allow all, because these are the things we are going to see in detail in policy section. Okay, and the actions should be allow. And see, I already talked about NAT. If we are talking about NAT, there, like, see, the NAT is already enabled here inside the policy. And which particular NAT is enabled? Use outgoing interface addresses, right? So as for, if we are going to talk about the topology, as per topology, if we are generating any traffic from here and it's like passing through our port 4, right? So if the exit interface or outgoing interface is port 4, whatever IP is coming, whatever traffic is coming from any source, it is going to translate on our 192.168.100.100. In this scenario, it will change like as per topology. But right now we are using use outgoing interface address, and in this scenario we are generating a traffic from our LAN and going towards our ISP. So what is going to be our outgoing interface? That is going to be our port 4. Okay. Okay, let's configure this quickly. So I'm going to the log allowed traffic is already allowed, and I am going to enable this particular option as well. Generate log when session starts. Click OK, and our policy is created. Okay. So before moving forward, what we have configured on firewall, let me just tell you, we configured interface, then DNS, then policy, and then NAT. You can see in this particular policy, you can see the NAT is already enabled, right? And what is that? Use outgoing interface addresses. Okay, let's move on. What is pending on our firewall? Only routing part, right? And that we are going to use OSPF. So before before configuring routing on our OSPF, let me show you something. Go to dashboard, go to network, and there is a routing tab. If you are going to expand this, nothing is there. Let me just sometimes it's not loading. Let me just quickly reload this and we'll get something. Okay, so right now nothing is here. If we are going to see with the help of this table, see there is, let me just take a snap. See, there is only two type of routing: static route and connected routes, right? There is no OSPF type. Like in type, OSPF routing is not showing. But after configuring this OSPF routing, we will see some OSPF subnets here as well, and it will show the type OSPF here, right? So let's move on, and before configuring the OSPF on our firewall, let me configure the OSPF on our ISP. So let me take a snap and let me explain what I'm going to do. So at first I'm going to add run a process ID OSPF 100 on our ISP. Then I will advertise this particular network, because with the help of this network only we are going to create a neighborship between our FortiGate firewall and our ISP. And then what I'll do, I'll just advertise 8.8.8.8 very first, and I'll do advertisement for these three, rest all three subnets later. Why? Because I want to show you guys something. So let me go to uh, we already have a open session for our ISP. Let me go to enable, and after enable, let me go in configuration mode, configure T, and then I'll run router OSPF 100. Okay. Let me tell you one more thing. Like here we are running the OSPF router process ID, right? We can't run OSPF process ID on our FortiGate firewall because there is a default process ID by default coming in. We are not getting any option to create a process ID, another process ID on our FortiGate firewall. I'll show you. So I already run the OSPF 100 process on our ISP. I'm going to advertise our network, and at first I'm going to advertise this 192.168. So 192.168.100.0, and here we are using on Cisco firewall, we are using wildcard mask, right? So what is going to be it's basically opposite of mask. So if we are going to talk about the mask of 192.168 100.0, it is going to be 255 255 255 zeros, right? So what is the opposite of 255 255 255.0? uh, it is going to be 0.0.0. dot 255, right? And I am going to assign a area is going to be 0, and the next network I am going to, okay, let's do one thing. Let's not like advertise any other network right now. Let's move on our firewall, and there is a network tab. You can get a OSPF option here. So what it is asking, it is asking for router ID. So I am going to set the router ID manually 1.1.1.1. I believe you guys are already aware what is router ID exactly. So I'm not going to explain that. And after that, there is a area concept in OSPF. So I'm going to configure area here, and what particular IP area I'm going to configure. I'm going to configure area 0. So we have to configure like area in this format 0.0.0.0 on our FortiGate firewall. Okay, we can like select the type of area. We can like configure the authentication as well, but this is not our requirement. I'm not going to configure. I'm going to configure simply area ID and just click OK. Our area ID is configured. Okay. And then there is a network section. Which particular network you want to advertise in this OSPF routing. Okay. So as per topology, if we are going to talk which particular networks we want to advertise on our FortiGate firewall, so these are the three networks 10, 20, and 192.168, right? So let me just advertise these all three. I'm going to select area 0, and the first network is going to be 10.10.10.0 slash 24. See here, there is no wildcard mask option, right? We can simply put a simple mask. I'm clicking OK. The first network advertised, I'm going to advertise the second one. It is going to be in area 0, and the network is going to be 20.20.0 slash 24. Click OK. And the third one is going to be inside area 0, and the network is going to be 192.168.100.0 slash 24. Okay, so let me show you. If you are going to verify, these are the three networks, right? 10, 20, and 192.168.100. These are the three networks we advertised on our firewall, right? One, two, three. So on firewall, our OSPF configuration is done. I'll tell you like why we are going to use interface, why there is like summary addresses, and why there is like multiple options. I'll tell you, but for now I'm just going to apply the things. I already like added the subnet 192.168. So I believe after like applying this OSPF on our firewall, it is going to make a neighborship with our ISP. So let's see if we are going to see right now. So IP OSPF neighbor. There is no neighbor. So let me apply the change and let's see on ISP. Let's wait. Yeah, see. There is already a message came like OSPF adjacent process 100 neighbor. What is the neighbor ID? 1.1.1.1. And what is that? The router ID of the neighbor. We configured that, right? So there is already a neighborship. Let me just show you. See, and it is in full mode, right? What do you mean by full? Means the neighborship is totally established. There is no like if like we are getting sometimes like start exchange state here, then the neighborship is not established. For that you have to go through the neighborship states. Okay, I'll cover that topic in separate video. So then the neighborship is already established, and if we are going to see, so route, so IP route. So see on ISP we are receiving the subnets 10 And 10 we are receiving from what? What do you mean by O? You can go through here. Like O means OSPF. We are receiving the subnets from OSPF. So see, 10 subnet, 20 subnet, and 192 is not showing in OSPF. Why? Because it's already a directly connected network. So we are receiving these particular networks 20 and 10 on our ISP through OSPFs. Let's do one thing. Let's see. Like, are we receiving the ISP subnet, these subnets on our firewall through OSPF or not? So for that, let's move on our dashboard network and on routing. No. Still, we are getting only two type of route, static and connected. So let's do one thing. I'm going on our ISP. Let me just show you one more thing. Let me try to generate some traffic. We are able to reach to these ISP subnets or not on our global subnets or not from our local PC. Let's see that, and then we'll move on and advertise these ISP subnet inside our ISP OSPF network. Okay, so let me just log in. Since we use the same topology in last video, we already have a configuration, IP configuration on our window PC. Let me just show you IP config. See, 10.10.10 and our gateway is 10.100 as per our topology. So I'm going to generate some traffic towards our gateway first, then our like WAN interface, and then we'll try to reach out to this 8.8.8.8 subnet. So let's see. First, I'm going to generate 10.10.10.100. So yes, we are reachable to our gateway. Let me just ping the WAN interface. That is going to be 192.168.100.100, right? As per our topology. This is the WAN interface. So yes, we are reachable to our WAN interface as well. Why? Because these all subnets are advertised in OSPF. Also, these all subnets are directly connected on our FortiGate firewall. So it's directly connected on our FortiGate firewall. So to reach out to this particular 192.168.100.0 subnet, we don't need any routing because it's directly connected, right? Okay, let me try 8.8.8 and see if we are able to reach or not. Ping 8.8.8.8. I am going to like apply a continuous ping for 8.8.8 from our local PC. See, we are getting request timeout. Also, we are not receiving any like 8.8.8 routing in our FortiGate firewall routing table. Or yeah, so let's do one thing. I'm going on ISP, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to advertise the very first IP 8.8.8.8. So go in config t mode, and I'm going to run the router OSPF 100 command one more time. We are inside the OSPF, and now I'm going to advertise the network 8.8.8.8.0, and the wildcard mask for this 0.0.0.255, and area is going to be 0. Okay, this is the subnet I just advertised in our ISP inside our ISP OSPF process. Okay, this is the subnet, and let's see, like, are we receiving that particular subnet here on our firewall? Yes, we are. See, 8.8.8.8/32. Why it is like receiving by /32? Because it's configured as a loopback. So loopback is also going to work on /32. And from which particular gateway IP we are receiving? So 10 192.168.100.200. So what is that? That is our ISP interface, right? Next hop for our firewall towards ISP. And if we are going to see how we are receiving 8.8.8, so see the type. It's receiving from OSPF type, right? And earlier there was not any OSPF routing. and now we are getting 8.8.8. Are we getting the other IPs as well? 11.11, 4.4 and 21.21? No, because we didn't advertise that particular networks in our ISP OSPF routing, right? So let's see, like we already advertised L.8.8, and are we able to communicate? Yes, we are. See, earlier there was no communication, right? Let me just stop that. Earlier there was no communication, there was a request timeout, but now we were able to communicate. And let me do one thing. Are we able to communicate to 4.4.4.4? No. Why? Because 4.4.4.4 is still not advertised in OSPF routing table in like ISP. So we are not receiving OSPF route through OSPF 4.4.4 routing through OSPF on our FortiGate firewall. So let me do one thing. See, there is a timeout. So let me advertise that particular network as well on our ISP. Config T router OSPF 100, and network is going to be 4.4.4.4 0.0.0.255. Area is going to be 0. Okay, now you can see I have to exit from here. If I am exiting, see, the communication is already happening for 4.4. And if we are going to refresh the table on our firewall, see, we are receiving 4.4.4 network as well through our OSPF, and the next hop is same from our ISP. So let me do one thing. Let me just quickly advertise. I believe it's already clear to you guys. Just going to advertise remaining two subnets, and I'm going to show the OSPF routing on FortiGate firewall. Then we'll move on some other parts as well. So config T router OSPF 100, and network is going to be 11.11.11.0 0.0.0.255, and area is going to be 0. Another one is going to be network 21.21.21.0 0.0.0.255, and area is going to be 0. Okay, so we advertised all the subnets which was we configured as a loopback on ISP. And if we are going to refresh this table, see, right now there is only two OSPF, and I am going to refresh the table, and now you can see there is total 4 OSPF. I'm just going to click on this, and what that 4 OSPF subnets are, what what routing for which particular subnets we are receiving the routes from OSPF, the same which we advertised on our ISP for 4.4, 8.8, 11.11, and 21.21, right? So this is the OSPF configuration on our FortiGate firewall. Now, like there was some another options as well. Okay, so for that, let me just like tell you interfaces, why we are using interfaces. If you are going to click on create new, you can give the name, you can take any interface, right? Like I'm going to take LAN 1, and there is like you can increase the cost, you can change the priority, you can set the authentication, you can set the BFD. But the main thing, if right now if we are going to check on ISP, so IP OSPF interface fast Ethernet 0 by 0. If I am going to run a like OSPF command for this particular interface, let's see what outcome we are getting. So if you are going to see, we are using network type broadcast, right? And cost is 10. There is hello and date timer as well, right? So in some cases, there are multiple scenario. We in real time network, we want to change our network network type as well. Right now it's broadcast. If we want to change from broadcast to point, then in that case, these particular interfaces are coming in picture. We can add the prefix, we can add the cost, we can increase or decrease the priority, we can set the authentication, we can set the network type, we can set this particular interface as a passive interface as well. We can set the db filter out, mtu ignore, mtu, and we can set the hello and date timer as well. Okay, so for that only we are using the interface. All right, I believe it's clear to you. But right now our we already achieve our task with the help of only network advertising in ospf, so we are not going to configure the other things. Okay, and if we are moving on, you guys are already aware about summary address, why we are using the summary address, why we are using the default setting, and there is some other settings as well. Redistribute connected, if we are if we are using more than one routing protocol, we definitely need redistribution, right? So for that only we are going to use these settings. So these are the things we are going to cover in separate video. So for now, it's already clear how we are configuring OSPF routing on our FortiGate firewall, and how we already make a reachability between our LAN PC and ISP, right? So it's I believe it's clear to you guys. We'll meet soon in next video with a very interesting topic. Till the time, thank you. Goodbye.